You gonna get your overalls on? We'll go do some chores.
No.
We'll go see the pigs. Can we go see the chickens? Well, good morning. It is a glorious morning out here this morning. Although we've already been up for a few hours. Actually, well, over like 3 hours. Somebody here woke up at, what was it, 5:15? So Saturday, I was kind of banking on a bit of a sleep in this morning. I don't get too many days where I'm not up at 5 a.m. But plans change. So we're gonna head out, feed our chickens. Where are they at? Is there a mob of chickens over here by the tractor? Must be behind the tractor. So what I didn't do last night, and I don't know, maybe once every 2 weeks I forget to do this, is mix up a batch of feed for the chickens. So I don't have any soaked feed for them today, but it's okay. We got the recycling bin over here by we call this Cousin Eddie's house. It's like the RV in the backyard. It's just a mobile chicken coop. But yeah, so we got the bin here. We just keep some dry feed in there. I'll just scatter that for the chickens to eat for today. Go feed your chickens. Good job. What I want to do with some of this feed is just sprinkle it around the trees. And then the chickens will go in there and peck and scratch and eat. And they won't hurt the tree, but they're going to clean up all of that, the tall grass and clover and stuff that grows in around there and can inhibit the tree's growth. Go feed your chickens. Good job. So Charlotte and I were just in the chicken house here. We're gonna clean out all these nesting boxes, get all the pine shavings and poop out of there, because yeah, chickens they like to roost in here. And although, I mean, that works, but it's a little bit inconvenient. It can make for some dirty eggs. So we gotta clean these out regularly. But as you can see on the floor of the chicken house, just down here, we allow that manure to build up with wood shavings here. So the chicken poop runs pretty hot. It's pretty nitrogen heavy. So we can balance the nitrogen with carbon just by adding wood shavings. And believe it or not, like everybody says, oh, chickens, they stink. Oh, there's nothing worse than cleaning out a chicken coop. If you add lots of wood chips to it, there's literally no smell. And I'm not kidding. Like I would come out here and eat my breakfast. I'd have no problem. Like there's no smell at all in this chicken house because the carbon to nitrogen balance is just like perfect. And so every time there's maybe a hint of an odor, just come in, dump more wood chips in. And then we use wood chips in the nesting boxes as well. So as we clean those out on a bi-weekly basis usually, it just gets dumped on the floor. So we're all done restocking the nesting boxes. So you can see in here, we just chuck the sawdust in. We don't need to make the bed for the chickens. They'll make their own bed. They're pretty fussy about how they like it. So we just leave it to them. And then, so to redo all of these, we've got, how many we got? 6, 12, 15 nesting. We got 15 nesting boxes, and that takes half a bag of of pine shavings. So there's 4 cubic feet in one of those bags, and then the other half the bag we just dump kind of indiscriminately on the floor around, and the chickens will do chicken stuff, and they'll just work around and scratch and work that stuff all in. We don't need to come in and turn it over. Honestly, we only turn this over maybe once or twice a year, usually halfway between winter and spring, just to get everything stirred up in case it gets a little wet in here. Other than that, the chickens do all the work in here. And speaking of chickens doing all the work, because it's the weekend, usually like after breakfast, I'll usually like to watch a couple of YouTube videos and kind of catch up on, the channels that I subscribe to. And one of those is Sow the Land. So Jason from Sow the Land, this morning I just watched his video on turning his meat chickens into their garden. So they got a pig pen that they ran 2 big pigs in. It's like a carport style, very similar to what we did with a chicken tractor. They just did it with pigs. And then they took all the wood chips out of there and put it in the garden. And then they turned the meat chickens loose on that basically on a compost pile, right? The wood chips composted down. And so we're doing something similar over here, and I'm just heading over to the pig pen. A couple of weeks ago, oh shit, actually it's probably more like a month ago, we got 4 or 5 bucket loads of composted manure and chucked it over here beside the garden. And we're gonna try and get it in between the rows of potatoes. But we just skipped the chicken step, and we went right to putting the pigs directly in the garden. And so these guys have been here now for 36 hours, plus or minus an hour or two. And look at this. Like, they're just chilling like villains, right? They're having a great time in here. But they've worked this up like absolute pig magic.
Hey, piggies.
Yeah, get yourself a little snack there. So what these pigs are gonna do is they're gonna eat all the leftover vegetation from the garden, the greens that we're not harvesting, or just the stuff that's obviously not edible. And they're gonna manure in the garden, and they're gonna work it in for us, as opposed to having to shovel a bunch of stuff and add a lot of extra inputs. We just throw the pigs directly in the garden, and they can just do it for us. And maybe it's going to run a little bit hotter, but we know for a fact, I mean, if you remember earlier in the year, we talked a little bit about clover in the garden and weeds in the garden. We have a nitrogen deficiency in the soil. It's heavy clay. There's not a lot of nutrients. So if these guys run their manure directly in there, and it's a little bit hotter and it hasn't a chance to age and become balanced, I'm not too concerned about it, because we know we need to build this soil a lot. So we had a massive windstorm rip through here last night, and a bunch of stuff up on our deck got relocated. We kind of thought that was the end of it. I'm just walking over here towards the horse pen because we brought Eeyore back the other day, and we had the farrier over yesterday, and they all got pedicured, which was great. But I'm looking over here at a horse shelter, and it's the wrong direction. Okay, so yesterday there was a horse shelter here. I guess we're not in Kansas anymore, because the horse shelter's now over here on its roof. And there's quite a bit of damage looking to it. Some of the walls damaged here, and the main beam, you can see the main beam's ripped out from the center. Oh boy. So when Carmen gets home from work today, maybe when Charlotte's in bed, I think I'll bring the tractor over here and try and flip this thing back over. Not entirely sure how that's gonna go, but yeah. Say hi to the ponies and the donkeys. There's Eeyore. Hey buddy. How are you? What happened to your house, bud? Somebody huff and puff and blow it all away? So needless to say, I could get pretty excited about this. Pretty wound up, pretty stressed out, but it is outside of my control, right? There's nothing I could have done. There's nothing I can do about our current situation other than try and fix it. So, like I said, I'll wait for Carmen to get home. I'm not gonna panic about it. We're just gonna have to deal with it. Hey, Eeyore. Hi, Elsie. You see a puppy? Life's always better with donkeys, isn't it, Charlotte? So now that I know that horse shelter's flipped over, I also know that I gotta fix this flat tire because I'm gonna need the tractor later. So I could just put air in it and then go do my thing and then come back, but it's still gonna have a flat tire in a couple of days, and I really need to do something like proper with this. So I could take it off and take it to the tire shop. I've done that before, and I don't know, it still came back with a bead leak, so within 2 weeks. So anyways, I'm gonna take it off and I'm gonna try and break the bead. I don't have a bead breaker. I do have a big sledgehammer. I tried that. So Clayton just phoned over and said that somebody driven by saw there was 6 cows out on the lease. So fixing the tractor, nap time, that's all gonna have to wait. We're gonna go for a roundup of the cows here. I think we got lucky there. Roy Hodges stopped by and he managed to close, well, he closed these gates and then the gates over by the lease. So the cows didn't get away, at least. We still got one out in this field. They need to be in the other field on the far side. So we're just gonna run in here and get get her rounded up. But yeah, no, good. We didn't lose any cows. The only thing we lost, if you can see it on the floor of the side-by-side, we lost all the goldfish crackers. I gave Charlotte a snack, and anyways, it didn't work out. 3/4 of them are on the side-by-side floor. We'll have to feed those to the chickens later. Bessie. Come on. Come on. Go that way. We're just trying to get her up the fence line here, and hopefully she goes in with the rest of the cows, but I don't know, she seems to lack a sense of direction. Come on, Bessie. There we go. It's tough work chasing cows around, isn't it, Charlotte? Let's go have a nap. So Robin Bloom texted me the other day, and he said he had a guy over there who was buying grain and was curious about apple cider vinegar. This stuff right here. And why you put it in chicken water. So, you know, it was something I wasn't really sure of. I watched a couple of videos. I read a whole bunch of stuff on the internet. I won't say did research because there's a whole path to actually doing research. I'll be honest, I read some stuff on the internet. But the premise is apple cider vinegar helps boost immune system, it helps reduce bacteria. For us, you know, our experience with it has been, well, let's just say life in the brooder can be tough and it can be short. And so anything you can do to, you know, either make it a little bit easier or extend that is obviously going to be beneficial to your chicks as they are reaching that maturity stage before they can be turned loose on the world. So what this stuff does, when you add it to the water, you add about, I think it's about a tablespoon per gallon. So about 5 tablespoons for a big waterer. That reduces the bacteria in the water. Now, chicks are renowned for getting right in the water, pooping in there, or they're pecking in the poop and they get on their beaks and they put it in the water. And so the water, if you're not changing it like multiple times a day, it can be kind of a cesspool, to be honest. So a little bit of acid in there to kill that bacteria goes a long way. The other thing it does, it adds flavor to the water. That encourages them to drink. Obviously, you know, keeping them hydrated can be very beneficial to them. And, you know, I looked, like I said, it was on the internet, give me that much credit. I looked and looked and looked, and there's very little actual research on the use of apple cider vinegar from, you know, peer-reviewed or like actual scientific studies. There's just a lot of, what would you call it? I guess, old wives' tales, so to speak. But from our perspective, we've never lost a chick in the brooder. And that's got to count for something, right? Charlotte, what are you eating? You having strawberries?
I'll buy it.
Yeah, won't eat your supper, but you'll eat 8 pounds of strawberries, hey? Well, I usually don't like to complain about the weather. I usually like to tell you how gorgeous and beautiful it is here, how blessed we are. But if you can see, I'm having to hide behind the shop right now. It's the only way I can shoot this footage, because if I step out here, yeah, windy as all get out. So I'm gonna feed the dogs, I'm gonna get eggs, and I'm gonna call it a night. I was gonna go try and fix up the horse shelter, but I need to like duct tape my hat on to get that done. So make that a wrap for this video. I hope you have a fantastic evening. Please don't forget to go down below, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and we will see you tomorrow.